Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever shorty, and I'm going to look at one of the Giant Generator books. This one, the Tin Can Society. This one didn't actually make it onto my pull list sight unseen. The other two Giant Generator comic books that are coming at the moment are both on my pull list. One was on there straight away, which was Grommets, which is, I'm not going to lie, top 3 best comic book of the year so far. And the other one probably not going to make my best of the year list, but I really have to give credit to the Holy Roller for being a deliberately funny comic book, which is still something I'm enjoying, because that is not usually my bag. This one didn't make it on, simply because I knew Remender was involved, but he wasn't a scriptwriter, and I thought, well, I'm getting enough stuff at the moment, I'm just going to read it and see what happens. And I've got to say, I was impressed. I got some vibe kind of things from before it without really knowing what I was getting, because as I've said repeatedly on this one, I don't really read blurbs that much for comic books unless somebody puts it directly in front of me. With this one, based on some of the cover artwork I'd seen and little bits of snippets I'd seen, I thought we're getting like a kids on bikes kind of thing of a bunch of people going off and doing adventure figuring stuff out, but then also what happened to them as grown-ups, which reminded me a little bit of the Die comic book by Kieran Gillen, and that's like a good vibe set of things to go off there. As I was flicking through it, I also got like a bit of a Massive versus No One style thing going on. Basically, this idea that they lived in a world of superheroes, but the stories we're getting are people who live in that world of superheroes. The journalists, the police, the politicians, how they get through their day with superheroes being a thing. That being said, these are all interesting things. These are like stories types and plot points that interest me. So I was like, right, okay, let's give it a shot. And I started flicking through it, and the artwork is beautiful. Absolute credit to Francesco Mobley here. It's gone for like an almost perfectly realistic, low-key vibe to it. And I say low-key specifically because, yes, a lot of comic books do realistic style character designs, what have you. Here we've got low-key, as in, we don't even have really over-the-top superhero design when we get them. Yes, they are in superhero costumes, of course they are, but it doesn't feel like the X-Men Krakoan age vaudevillian style costume. It feels like there's an awful lot of function to it, and then the form follows that. But also we have an understated colour palette, and when we see these people as kids, they are drawn very realistically as kids. It matches the low-key story we're getting, because yes, one of our characters is a superhero, but we don't get much about him going and fighting crime. It's more about the fact that it's a murder mystery to be solved, and it's a bunch of friends from school getting together and trying to figure out what's going on. This leads to some pretty good storytelling, and I'm not going to lie, the other thing other than the artwork that really elevated for me is the story and the writing. The script is absolutely brilliant. The character interactions are absolutely top-notch. Everything feels very natural. It feels like these are people who live in the world, no matter how crazy the topic might get, they just exist as part of it, and as such just talk to each other and have conversations and deal with the ramifications of that kind of thing. They also really nicely scatter through quite a few little bits of world building, which feels like we're getting shown them rather than told them, and that's always a good thing. And I do like this difference between them as kids and them as adults. It's another one where the artistry really shines, because at no point did I ever struggle to see like what the kid would look like when they grew up. It was 100% just there, even though bodies and faces changed. We knew exactly who these people were, and I really, really like that. I also like the fact it's a murder mystery rather than a superhero story in a world which has superheroes. I'm not usually into my crime stuff, but I like that what this can do for a story by kind of having something different within a genre, and having like an investigative or photojournalist being like the lead in it. There's also a chance, I think, for some nice misdirection and unreliable narrators, but that's more what the comic book promises, not what it delivers. For issue 1, we do get to just some really, really nice story writing and some fantastic setup for what I'm sure will be a really, really good series, and it has now made it onto my pull list. I do have a couple of criticisms, though. Namely, when it comes to form, I suppose when you open the book up, and the first thing you get is a dead person with really severe injuries, that leads to a couple of different criticisms. Number one, it is a POC character, and it feels very much like we're going to get a whole horror movie trope of the black guy gets killed first. Thankfully, because this story exists with an awful lot of flashbacks, we are still going to get to see an awful lot of this character. Like, the fact that he's dead doesn't mean he's out of the story. But honestly, my first thought was, dude. Secondly, when we see this person, the injuries on display are graphic. I'm not going to describe them in too much detail, but there's at least a compound fracture and a fatal head wound. And I was like, damn, that is a bold way to start it. And if you know how comic books work, you'll know the first page you see when you open page 1 is the one right in front of you as you open the thing up. And then the title page over here, and not many people really pay that much attention to the title page. Sometimes that will be page 1 because there's an advert here, and you still kind of just flick past it. that's where there's actually content and trigger warnings for the violence against people in the comic book. And I can't help but feel if you're going to take that seriously, put it on the page where most comic book readers, at least I assume, would be unlikely to see it. Feels like not a great move form-wise. But apart from those two criticisms, genuinely loved it. I think you will too. That's it from me for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!